name's Samantha White. I'm the creator of livingwastefree.com, and today I'm going to teach you how to braid a rug. Braiding a rug is actually really simple. I was lucky enough to learn from my aunt earlier this summer, and I just thought it was so amazing that I wanted to share it with all of you. Braiding a rug is also a great way to use up extra fabric you have lying around, or old t-shirts, or old jeans, or really any old clothing or fabric that is just too worn to donate, but that you don't want to throw away. For those of you who don't know, this is what your rug will look like when it's finished. This type of rug uses one continuous braid to create an entire rug, meaning I braided one braid down the center, and then I continued to braid that braid, weaving it into itself until I created a full rug. To get started, you will need 4 things. You will need some fabric. Here I have a couple of old t-shirts and a couple of old sheets, though you can use any type of fabric you want. You will also need some thread, a needle, and a good pair of scissors. It can also be handy to have a ruler and a safety pin, although those 2 items are not necessary. So once you have gathered all of your supplies, you can begin to braid your rug. What you will need is 2 strips of fabric that are 48 inches long, which is approximately 122 centimeters, and 2 to 3 inches wide, which is approximately 5 to 7 centimeters wide. I'm using 2 different colors of fabric on each of my strips because I'm using 4 colors of fabric total in this first braid, just so I can show you which strand goes where and you can see easier. It's just to make it clearer. You can use as many colors as you want. If you're using only 2 colors, you would only need 2 long strips and you wouldn't need to sew them together in the middle like I have. But if you're using 4 colors like I am, you'll need to cut 4 strips, and each strip should be approximately the same size, and then you'll sew 2 of them together, and then you'll sew the other 2 together to create your long 48-inch strip. Once you have both of your strips, what you will do is you will lay them so that they are perpendicular to each other, so like this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to just sew right across here using your needle and thread. So now you have your strips sewn together, and you have these 4 strips. And remember, these strips are all approximate lengths and widths. I like to use 2 to 3 inches and 48 inches long, but you can really use anything you like or whatever you find works best for you. Now you're going to lay out your 4 strips here. Okay, you have your 4 strips, they're just laid out so that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, okay? You're going to take your number 1 strip and you're gonna kind of fold the edges down like so, because you want the top of your rug to be really nice and clean, and these rough edges can fray and they just don't look very pretty either. So you're gonna fold the edges down and you're gonna take it over your 2nd strand, which is this pink one, and you're gonna take it under your 3rd strand, which is this white one, and you're gonna take it over your 4th strand, which is this striped one. So this blue one was your working strand, it is now your 4th strand. Your farthest left strand is always your working strand. So now this pink one is your working strand. Now I'm actually gonna take my heel here, and I'm gonna put it on top, just like that, so that it kind of holds it down so that I can keep my tension really nice and tight, because you want this first braid to be pretty nice and tight. So now you're gonna take your farthest left strand, which is gonna be your working strand. It happens to be this pink strand. And I'm gonna go over, fold this over, under, over, okay? And I'm gonna just kind of pull on everything to make sure everything's staying nice and tight. Then I'm gonna go over again with my new working strand, under, over. Now I'm just going to continue doing this until I have my center braid as long as I want it. So now your center braid is going to be the middle of your rug, because we are going to be working from the inside out. So if this braid is really short, your rug is going to be more circular. If this braid is really long, your rug is going to be more of a rectangle or an oval shape. So this is the only part of your rug that does require some planning, because you need to know what type of shape you want your rug to be in the end. braid about as long as I want it. And you can see it's pretty tight throughout. This is a little looser just because this was the top where I sewed it, so it looks looser. But it's pretty consistently tight throughout. It's not loose. And this is important. So you don't want it to be really, really loose because it's going to be harder to braid and harder to stay together. So now we are going to switch our pattern up just a little bit so that we can start weaving around our rug and create a corner. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our working strand, which happens to be this striped strand, and we're going to go over, because we always start over, under, over, just like normal, okay? So everything here is just exactly the same, except for now we're going to take this, and instead of just leaving it to become our fourth strand, we're going to find the first hole we have here. So it's right there, you can see that, and we are going to put it from top to bottom. We're going to pull it through that hole, and we're going to just kind of tighten everything, tighten everything up here, okay? Now you don't want this to be too tight because you don't want it to create a knot, but you do want it to be about the same tension as everything else, so it's not super loose. So now we're just going to take our next working strand, which is this white one. We're going to go over, under, over, and then I'm just going to take it through this next loop here. Just going to take it through. Okay. Tighten everything up a little bit, and then let's do it one more time with this blue strip. Over, under, over. Don't forget to go over that white strand because it's still our fourth strand. And I'm actually going to take it through the same hole because this hole is so big. So through. Now remember, kind of pull everything. We're going to have to kind of twist this here so that we can work on it. Now, you can see here we still have our working strand, which is our farthest left if you're facing it. Working strand, our second strand, our third strand, our fourth strand. It's just that now we are beginning to work our way up this rug. Now you can see that this strand, a couple of them, are getting pretty short and they're going to be hard to work with. So we're just going to grab another strip of fabric. Now this is about the same length just because I like to work with similar lengths. And you should make sure that it's the same width as whatever you're sewing it onto, approximately. I mean, an inch or so, not a big deal. Mine vary by an inch or so because I don't cut all the way down mine. If you can see here, the edges are very frayed because what I do is I just slice, just cut a little bit with my scissors at the top and then I just rip it. So I just rip my strands. So sometimes they're a little bit different sizes. That's okay, don't worry about it too much. But you don't really want it any longer than, I would say, 24 inches because it just becomes really hard to braid. So we're just going to sew this together. So we have this sewn together now. So this is how we add on fabric, and this is also how we would change colors. So I could have sewn this stripy fabric onto any of these and changed colors. And while I'm braiding, what I will do is I'll just fold this seam over, and you can barely see it, but if it is noticeable, you can just hide it underneath another braid, and that's how you'll make the top of your rug look really nice and smooth and clean. Now another really good tip here is your safety pin. This is what the safety pin is for. You take it and you're just going to open your little safety pin and pin it to the very top of your braid here. And this is to help you know where you started, but also to help you know which side is up. So when you first are beginning to braid a rug, sometimes it's really hard to tell the front from the back. But as you can see, we're going to be hiding seams in the back and the frayed edges are going to be in the back. So you're going to want to know which side you're trying to keep pretty and which side you are going to have your frayed edges on. So this safety pin is just kind of a marker for you so that you know where you're at. So that's basically it. You're going to keep continuing to braid using the pattern over, under, over, through, and you're just going to keep going until you go around and around and around. And once your rug is the size that you want, that is how you know it's time to finish it. as you can see, I have continued going around, and it's kind of starting to look like the center of a rug. And you really do just continue going over, under, over, and through the next hole until it starts to shape into a rug. Now, if your next hole is quite large, you might want to put 2 or 3 strands through it. And as your rug starts to grow, all of your holes will start to be the same size, so you'll just start putting 1 through each. Though on your edges, you may always need to add a couple strands through, just so it doesn't bunch up and become kind of knotted on the edges. That's not what you want. So here is a rug, obviously not the same rug, that I was working on, and this is about 3 hours of work. This one's a little tighter than the one we've been working on here, just because I pulled it tighter as I was working. So this is what it'll start to shape into, and you can see that this middle strand was about the same size as the one we started with here. So about a foot and a half-ish. And you can see that it's starting to become an oval shape. So this one is gonna be pretty rectangular, not so circular. Now let's just say that we were really happy with how this looked, that we were done. So now you would decide you were going to finish your rug. So what you would do is you would kind of pull your pieces of fabric underneath your rug, and you might have to weave them in as you pull them underneath. So like this one, you wouldn't necessarily want to just pull straight under. You might want to weave it in so it's not noticeable that it's going to be hidden underneath your rug. Okay, so now you're going to cut all of your pieces off so they are about 1 inch or 2 inches in length. Okay. So about like that. All right, so now this is the back of your rug. So let's just take one of our pieces, and we're just gonna weave it in to the back of our rug here. Now, if you wanted the back of your rug to look just as pretty as the front of your rug, you would have to be careful where you weave these, but I don't do it that way. The back of my rug is just the back of my rug. So we're just gonna take it and we're just gonna weave these pieces in wherever we can. Okay. So now you can see the pieces are woven in, but they're not sewn down yet. They're just woven in there. Now, if you want and you don't want to sew on the back, you could just weave them in even farther so that they'll just stay, and then there would be no seams on the back of your rug. But what I do is once they're woven in, I take my needle and thread and I just simply tack them down. So I would just pull it underneath here, let's say, and I would just sew them together. So now this one's sewn down. You can see the seam on the back, but when you flip it over, you can't see it on the front, okay? Now you would do this for your other 3 strands as well. You would simply sew them all down, and then once they're sewn down, you're done. Your rug is completely done. Something to think about, here you can't really tell where I stopped the rug, and that's partially because this rug is so small. Sometimes when rugs get, to this length, if I were to abruptly stop right now and pull all my fabric underneath, you'd be able to see that there's an awkward stop right there. So often I like to do it on a corner. I'll stop right up here because it's less noticeable, and also I make sure that it doesn't look awkward or it's not pulled too tightly before I sew my ends down. So there you have it. You've just learned how to braid a rug. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you have any questions, comments, or critiques, I hope that you leave them in the comment section below. Also, if you braid your own rug, I would love to see it. You can send me an email. My address is livingwastefree@gmail.com, or you can post it on Instagram and tag me in it @livingwastefree. I hope you have a great day and good luck with your rugs. Bye.